I'm looking at this map. There's like a giant lava lake, and then a bunch of different places. It'll be interesting to see where people spawn. I think one of the things that happens with this. Now, did they turn on dynamic alliances for this round?
I believe not. I can
Oh,
check.
doesn't look like it. I think we would see a different. But I think that would be another interesting twist. You will often see in a free-for-all match where it's serious, people will make alliances, or at least just agree to back off, just to give them each of them like a chance to fight. Because if two guys end up fighting, they'll just weaken each other, and then somebody will come in later and be like, "Oh, are you still there?" Wish, and that can be dangerous. So why don't you take us around the map and like talk through where each person is and what you think about this one.
Okay, so in orange we have Burnt Custard, who's on the equator spot actually, and he's got a pretty good spawn with a lot of proximal mechs right by his commander. Already gone for your standard build with vehicles first, air second queued up, so he's definitely a contender there, and he's got a really good advantage actually with all of that early metal. This map to me strikes me as a sort of mini Spawn Wars, except the odd little dot here and there. So the next player up is Milk Dragon in white, just to the north east of Burnt Custard there. Again going a similar opening strategy, a second P-Gen before his first factory however, which is also vehicles. It's going to see a lot of vehicle first, I suspect. What do you think about that?
I think vehicle first is really strong. One of the things is that we recently removed the anti-air capability for bots, in an effort to make sure that the best armies are a diverse set of types, not just go all one unit type. And so, given the risk of somebody coming over with bombers, I think that vehicles, it's a good start to start with either vehicles or air. See, Max must have started air because he's got his first fighter out, like doing some scouting around him.
Yeah, definitely. Max in indigo blue there, towards the North Pole there. I haven't got pole lock on because it is a free-for-all, so we'll be going everywhere. So air first, and then followed up by 3 vehicle factories, one of which he's put on top of a metal site, which isn't the best placement for it, but he has got out an air fabricator now, which is going to be able to grab those proximal expansions. However, Milk Dragon has just popped a skitter over there, so he's going to get some valuable intel about what's going on. Right, the next player we have Lost Mecha in light blue, just across the lava lake from green, who we'll get to shortly. He's got a really nicely early defended area there, don't you think, by all that geography, although his mechs isn't particularly favourable.
Yeah, I think that the geography is pretty good. He does have, 7, 8 mechs. I don't think it's so bad. And then there will be an opportunity to contend the ones that move on towards Elodia, the green player, here as well. So, you can see where he's placed his kind of forward skitter outside his base, and I think that's an opportunity. Also, there will be another area of contention between him and yellow, that is to say Klops. Now, I'm sure Klops will be aggressively looking to take that space too.
Yeah, he's already moving his commander over there, blimey.
Yep.
The one disadvantage of that little geography there, that sort of little headland of lava there, well, you know what I mean, is I'm not sure whether pelters from green or blue will be able to reach across there.
That range, yeah.
That'll be really interesting if they can, because, well, it's the heart of green's base. Shall we just skip to green now? Elodia?
Yeah.
Elodia?
He's already conflict by green.
Yeah, indeed. They've popped up a nice few walls there, although it looks as though the commander from Milk Dragon is managing to sort of make a stand against them, even putting up his own pelter there. But Elodie getting up 4...
Somebody did.
Oh my.
All right,
that would be Mechanic. Mechanic in purple over by red. Looks as though he left red on his commander with such little health. Oh my goodness. Shall we go in Chronocam and have a look at what happened there?
Yeah, I'm going to go back right now and see what's going on. So, fortunately, you can go back in time and see. Okay, he was really, how did he get there?
I think he just walked out.
I'm just going to go back quite a bit.
He walked out,
yeah.
And then it became
you go back to the 3.5 minute mark. You can see he just walks right down there, and starts fighting, and if you do skip forward, builds the walls, and he just
The other
tries to
commander
surround
sits
himself.
in there.
Yeah,
That's fantastic.
yeah.
But it does mean that Red's commander only going to take a couple of hits from Ants, and he's going to be gone. So he's going to want to get some latent repairs going on that. And Max has now actually
Yeah.
scouted that, so he knows what's
Moving
going
up
on.
to current time, there's Infernos in Red's base, so he can't really get over there with his commander because he'll die. So he's
Yeah.
already in trouble. Brown moving in quite heavily with several units. He's got an Inferno. Took out the factory. Red, I think, is fairly crippled by this. So that's Basidian.
He is definitely going to be able to fight back
sorry,
that little Brown offensive, though.
Is that Basidian or Gandalf? I think that's Gandalf, actually.
Brown, no, Red is Gandalf, Brown is Naganax.
Yeah, and then now Brown under assault from Max.
It's a sort of
with,
double team almost, except Red probably doesn't want to overstretch himself because he wants to be able to defend his commander who's, who's fallen over and struggling to get up.
I think this is a good point. There's actually another conflict over here between white and green. It's a good time to kind of think about what are the strategies that are different for a free-for-all than for a from a regular match. And I think one of the differences is, using static defenses like towers and walls, I think is much better in a free-for-all and trying to turtle up, because any conflict you get into weakens you and your opponent, but doesn't weaken any of the other players. So you have to be super cautious about doing so. You can see Brown actually trying to get up a tower, but Blue, Max, moving in to help harass Brown, just going to look around the Max. Kind of a standoff
Commanders are
here
really
between...
close now.
Yes. And they are, in fact, fighting. The walls go up by Brown, that is Naganax, and he is going to have to retreat because of so many ants. He's kind of behind the ball in terms of production, but the Uber Cannon taking out a few big shots, but Max really pressing in here with his commander.
This
and
commander's
going to
pop.
a quarter health.
Somebody's commander's going to go
buildings
here,
or units in the way. Sure enough, a wall will go a long way towards helping him.
He just needs to get behind those vehicle factories and they'll soak up the damage.
Yep, and you can see now that there's just that one ant firing at him. If he does focus fire, he should really turn and shoot that guy. There he goes, takes it out, and the Inferno comes out, and I think
Max is on the retreat.
Yes.
Which is a kind of saving grace for Brown, because, Naganax is, in a similar situation to Gandalf at this point. Really, really low health on his commander.
Over to the east, a conflict between green and orange. Green is Elodia, and orange is, in fact, Burnt Custard as usual. Elodia was pushing in pretty hard there, but he's now backed off. He does have the walls to retreat behind, but Burnt Custard does have quite a few ants there.
He's actually getting up to T2 air. Really early T2 air rush. I guess this is for sort of protection with those Hornets. Will be probably really good at base defense.
Yeah, and then Max has once again invaded the brown base of Naganax, and he looks like he's retreating. I'm not sure why. Maybe he's got a radar up and he can see these red pushing up. This is a tough map. One thing that I think is I've played some public games recently, and one of the things I've seen is, if you can turtle up just a little bit, you can actually rush. Oh, yellow and cyan. Yellow pushing into cyan's base, and that is a significant push going on here. So he's really trying hard.
Oh, wow.
Not sure why he's got his commander tanking quite all that damage. Now he's backing it off behind the line of yellow.
Yeah, Klopp's there, overstretching himself perhaps just a little bit as all these cyan ants just start to stream in, and he sees those, and I think he might be out of his depth here. We may see a pop, and indeed we will. There he goes.
Bam.
Klops is the second to die. 8th place. No, 9th place. That's the one.
A little over aggressive on that.
Indeed, and that. Sorry, go ahead.
I think that was he kind of did that to himself. Now Brown moving forward, and Naganax, and he is actually very hurt. And there's a giant cluster of the Gandalf army coming in. I think he's
gone.
He's out.
So Naganax takes 8th position. Red Gandalf just managing to survive by the skin of his teeth with his commander sort of over in the open, actually, where there's not going to be all that much offensive since the other player died in that location. Now this is another point to add in, another strategy for free-for-alls. If you see a commander die or a player die, go nab their spawn. It's lots of free metal, though you may have to fight for it just a little bit to secure it, but once you do, it's a lot of good production.
Yeah, you know, the other thing about free-for-alls like this is, like, you look at Max's base and how close he is to the dead commander, Naganats. That commander is 25,000 metal, so the wreckage will be, I don't remember what the wreckage ratio is, but still a giant pile of metal. Build one combat fabricator and go reclaim that bad boy, and you will get 60 metal per second for no energy for quite a long time, and that is a huge boost to your economy. If you look at the economy list here, you know, the most anybody has is like 100. So 60, you know, is basically 60% more. So there's just a huge opportunity to grab metal just by reclaiming those commanders.
It's going to be a couple of sort of combined pushes here, sort of between the triangle of white, cyan, and green here. Just a second ago, cyan pushed into green's base, but was fought off. However, now green emptying his forces into white, giving cyan the opportunity. Yeah, I mean, he's... You don't want to leave your house all that empty in a free-for-all, especially when someone's knocking on your door.
Interestingly enough, he's fighting with his commander, but he's actually not diverting his army to come help out.
Yeah, I think he suspects he could get a kill here, and even if he does get the kill, that means he's bumped up a position, even if he does end up dying. But he is using his Uber Cannon to great effect there, really decimating Cyan's forces, and in fact, it looks as though White's commander might actually die here.
Yeah, the white commander is getting really pushed down, like so many infernos around him, and is like just a sliver of life. He's still backing up, and boom, he's dead.
Milk Dragon, 7th. Don't forget,
nice
this
job.
is.
And now he can turn his attention to the incoming forces, Lost Mecha, the Cyan player.
And he's even going up to T2 vehicles on the other side of his base. Although that does border Burnt Custard, and I do believe that Green and Custard, LOD and Custard did have a small commander exchange, but previously. But nothing all that much came of that. Both sides retreated.
Yeah, huge Air Force fight between Burnt Custard and Obsidian, the pink player. I think Burnt Custard got the greater side of that, but he was able to... So he backed off and did that. Burnt Custard actually has a Tier 2 advanced air factory and has already produced one of those Hornets. Very long-range, kind of siege-type unit, or very powerful at defending because they've got the tactical missile launchers. Kind of want to get a critical mass of several of those before it really works out. Another explosion.
Max just took out Gandalf. The last little tickle toppled him over.
Okay, I'm just going to go back here for just a moment. Jumping back using the 50 seconds back button. And again. And where are we? Okay, so Max coming in with so many Aventails and picking off the already depleted forces of... that is Gandalf, so he's trying to get up some of that, but a shot gets past the walls, and that is GG for him.
Indeed, Max has definitely got a really large clump of metal there, plus an extra commander. He's now bordering 2 dead commanders, although Green has claimed the other one. So LOD getting in there with 2 Fabbers, which is a really good idea. Looking back at Pisidian, getting lots more factories queued up, and even getting some advanced economy as well, which is going to be a bit of a good boost to his production value.
Yeah, Pisidian loves the Shellers. Like, I've known from his stream and from his comments on mine that he thinks the Shellers are just the strongest thing ever. And so you can see that he is just cranking out tons of Shellers here. He's going to buffer with the Tier 1 units, the basic units, and then he's going to clobber Burnt Custard with his Shellers. Now, he may feel that... Just to draw your attention quickly
to the other side of the planet, sorry, Green and Cyan just had a commander duel, leaving both commanders on lower health. Sorry to interrupt there, but it was...
nope, that's alright.
It was quite a close call with a reasonable amount of units on LOD's side with not too much defense from Lost Mecha. Lost Mecha has a few bombers, well, by that I mean 1, 2 now, has just come off the production, but... it's not going to be all that great, although, however, LOD does not have any anti-air with his army, so they're sitting ducks for those bombers.
Yeah, interesting that people don't tend to build that much. He's building another row of bases up there. I'm just going to flip around the planet, make sure nothing else is going on. Yeah, here's a big push coming in by Pisidian, and he's actually starting to get his Shellers in range of that factory, almost dead.
And Lost Mecha goes down to LOD's Infernos.
I'm just going to back up and see that since I had flipped around to the other side of the planet.
Now Max is pushing in with his units to take out what remains of LOD's commander who's stuck out in the open.
Yeah, he's backing up. I don't know if Max knows that the commander's right there. He may know that there's units, and he's just getting to the point where he's going to see it, and the walls start to go up.
Yeah, he
He has
sees the
to, but he's
commander.
still in line of sight. He needs to move behind those walls, and he is in serious trouble here.
Yeah, I think this is probably going to go down. He's getting encircled a little bit by these ants, and just a couple
Oh,
more
it's so
shots.
close. He
Ah!
needs to keep building walls all the time. Like, he can't afford to be spending that much.
There we
he goes.
go.
Explosion, and we're down to just Burnt Custard, Max, and Pisidian. Now, Burnt Custard has Tier 2 air, and Pisidian has advanced vehicles. And Pisidian's kind of working his way in. He's just kind of slowly pushing in towards Burnt Custard. I think this
He's
is
getting a few snipes on his air factory, actually, continually hampering the hummingbird production and doing damage to the factory itself. I find it amusing how you can kill the unit that's being produced.
Yeah. Now, one thing that's interesting is that he has not built a second vehicle advanced factory. One thing that it's good to note is that advanced fabricators can build advanced factories very quickly. So it may take you a long time to get your first advanced factory, but it's often not that long to get your second one. Now, you have to have the income to go with that, so you might need to work on your economy to be ready for that. But if you look at the economy of Burnt Custard, 388 and Max is 210. Pisidian is 230. So all these guys have the economy to support multiple advanced factories, but I think there's a tendency to like reflect on how long it takes to build the first advanced factory and how long it takes to get the next one. Burnt Custard actually is working on an advanced vehicle factory at the other side of his base. His advanced air factory is under attack, and he's having trouble keeping it going as this push comes in.
Yeah, he does need to get... where did his Hornets go? They must have been taken out by a little bit of Pisidian's anti-air, because he has got a large number of hummingbirds circling, and unless it's landed there in the middle, and I can't tell of the difference between the icons, but he does have a T2 Faber there, not doing anything at this point, but the commander... Oh my goodness!
Commander gets
sniped by the shellers. Custard is out. It's now turns into a 1v1 scenario between Max and Pisidian.
Every unit is OP.
Every unit is OP in its own special way.
Exactly. So looking around, let's just switch to the army tab real quick, because I think that's going to come into more of a play right now. Pisidian has 320 units of army, and Max has 259. So they both have pretty big armies. 201 mobile and 209 mobile, very close there. 9 factories for Pisidian and 3 for Max. So he's operating on, or Fabers, I mean. So he's operating on very few Fabers right now. I think they've been getting picked off by the Air Force of Pisidian, like knocking those guys down. And then factory-wise, 12 and 14, very close. So, and even the economy, 213 to 230 metal, very close. So we see a giant conflict happening here as the army of Max moves in.
I think Max might just be on the upper hand here, actually, because he's got a steady stream of ants coming in, and Pisidian only has this sort of small clump of shellers that can really do all that much against it. So as long as Max's units don't bunch up all that much, they can actually make a fair headway into the base, and the commander's actually really quite open. He needs to get up some defences in there, because I don't think the shellers are actually going to get there in time, although his forces are getting decimated by them. So
yeah,
perhaps
he's got
not
a
as
big
serious.
pump of the shellers, the Aventails, and the spinners as anti-air. So, but he's like really winning this tug of war. He's diverted a bunch down towards those shellers. I think that's a terrible mistake. He has an opportunity to come up here and really like harm the production line of Pisidian, and instead he's going to go chase down the like massively superior army. When like fighting armies isn't really what you want to do. What you want to do is you want to fight. You want to kill buildings. Now, if you look around the other side, back at Max's base, there's a huge stream of units coming from Pisidian into Max's base. So I think it could be big trouble for him, because he hasn't left a lot of. Well, he's got a few units back here.
Yeah, definitely not enough though. He has got a few bombers, but there's some spinners in there as anti-air, so they're going to be nullified instantly the moment they fly over that clump, as we see just there. I think Max just about has enough, because Pisidian's units are sort of single filing a little bit, but
they are.
So are Max's actually streaming through his buildings. But
that's going to cut off the stream of units that were going in to bother Pisidian, and now you can see his Sheller army, and is working its way in from the other side. So Max is actually starting to feel the squeeze on both sides. He's got units on one side, almost killed that threat of units, but then all of his tanks are going to be on the wrong side of his base.
Yeah, plus his commander's going to be right next to those shellers, and indeed getting a few hits and damage done by them right there. And his advanced vehicle factory unfortunately doesn't get to do any work put in, which had was only just been finished, I believe.
Yeah, I think, I actually think that a Vanguard would have been a good choice here. He can like wipe out a bunch of units with a single shot there, but he is now on the run. He's down to about 40% health himself, and he's just fleeing out of here. But you can see his income has dropped from about 230 down to 128. So he's lost 100 metal per second, and that's what we like to call a lot.
Pisidian does know where Max's commander is. His hummingbirds frequently scout it. So I guess all he needs to do now is figure out some way of sniping while keeping Max's ground forces at bay, because he does know that Max is going predominantly ground now. He's got all of that air sniping, scouting constantly, and is in fact camping that air factory to an extent as well, which is really fortunate there. Neither player really expanding too much, however.
Yeah, they're pretty distracted with the actual combat. I think that a lot of the, like if we look at the army tab, you can see that Max actually has 0 Fabbers and Pisidian has 9. So if anybody has an opportunity to expand, it is Pisidian, and he's already way ahead. So he's probably looking for a kill shot there, and knowing his propensity for these shellers, I'm pretty sure that he is just kind of trying to micro those and make sure that they, do a lot of damage from afar. A couple bombers coming in for Pisidian as well.
Yeah, that's one thing Max does not have all that much of, anti-air. Well, in fact, he does, but it's all right by his commander, and all it's going to take, because of the way they're bunched up, is enough bombers, a critical mass of bombers, just to drop off a single volley, and all of that AA is going to find itself in a massive clump of wreckage.
Yeah, a couple shellers here are by Max have gotten out there and started to actually cause quite a turn in battle. Pisidian then did, in fact, focus fire those shellers down because he knows what's up. Max calling the GG. I don't know if he's actually marked his commander for deletion, but he is. There it is. He calls it. Takes second place though. Very good.
Really
in
good.
terms of the actual result, even though he did ultimately succumb to onslaught of Pisidian. So good game for him.